way to the vaccination of livestock at some extent, saying, if you do not understand, then shut up. Let the people that understand these particular issues have a say, because according to him, it means well for the country and for the people, especially the pastoralist community, which he says we are targeting close to 72 million cattle when it comes to, 72 million livestock, I beg your pardon, when it comes to vaccination beginning next year. There seems to be an issue that has to do with trust. People do not trust the current government, and anything that comes out from the president's mouth and his lieutenants does not sit well with the Kenyan people. How does the government earn the trust of the people moving forward?
Brian, when I look at the state of Kenya, the most important thing that we must always remember is that our #1 rule book is the Constitution. When you are lost and you need to find your way, go back to the Constitution. The Constitution is a guide. It just tells you that if you can, please consult with the public. Public participation and all these things that we are asking for, that you need to engage the citizenry so that they understand what the issues are before you execute the law, the policy that you intend to do. This is not a suggestion because the framers of the constitutions imagined that we just want to bombard citizens with information. No. It's because you're dealing with grown-up individuals. You're dealing with people making decisions in their everyday life. They're making a decision when they wake up. They make a decision on how their families are run. They make a decision on how their businesses are run. So they will want an input on how their government is run. So the only thing that this administration needs to do is to make sure that whenever they think up these beautiful policies for Kenyans, that they actually take the time to explain to Mwananchi what exactly this policy is, how Mwananchi is going to benefit out of it, what it is going to cost, and the mechanism which they will employ to execute this thing. But when you just show up and say, I have been dreaming a good vision for Kenya, and here it is, I am going to force feed it to you. This is where the problem comes. Secondly, this administration needs only to do certain few things. There's a problem that we have with this administration, in my view, that the president believes that he must execute as many programs and projects as possible within the shortest time possible. It's impossible. You have a country of 50 million people. You can only take wins that make sense and wins that you can quickly collect that will resonate with Mwananchi. So you cannot be fumbling from left, right, and center, fighting crisis after crisis, or trying to push down an idea after the other, housing, Those are things you say in the campaign trail. But when it comes to work, you actually pick 2-3 items that you can actually make sure they are executed well. The rest is to make sure there is no corruption. The rest is to make sure services are rendered to people. The rest is to make sure that civil servants are not crooks and thieves. That is your job as president, and keep our borders safe. Those are the things that you need to do. But to say that you want to change the economy of Kenya in 2 years, that you want us to look like Saudi Arabia in 2 years, it's a joke. It won't happen. We cannot be able to match Malaysia and Singapore because you have been 2 years in office. Neither can you make it even when you're 5 years in office. So the most important thing that the president should focus on right now is to make sure the lives of Kenyans are fine. Some of these projects...
The president will say he's attempting to do that, but with so much opposition.
But this is the point. Kenyans do not want this vision if it is going to be expensive for them. They do not want it. I mean, we don't want to have electric SGRs and things like those if it means that at the end of the day, I only take home 10% of my pay. I would rather stay without it. The point is, you cannot rush Kenyans into development. You need to carry them along into development. And you work at their pace, and you work at their realities. Because you are not expanding the job market. The job market is not as wide as we expect. So you can then not expand your tax base, expand your taxation in the view that at some way or form, there's a miracle that will happen. Money will just appear. Somebody's pay slip will come from 100,000 to 200,000. It will not happen. There are people who have been stuck at their pay grade for years. So the most important thing is to ask Kenyans, where are you right now? What can you afford? If Kenyans can only afford to give the government 40%, cap it at that, work with that. If it means that you have to downsize, the people you should be apologizing to are the civil servants you are sacking because you want Kenyans to have a better life. They will understand. There will only be 5 or 6 of them. There are not even 2 million of these civil servants. So why are you scared? Deal with the issues at hand. These civil servants are stealing from us. They are diverting money that is meant for development to other personal projects. People are building houses, they're buying helicopters. Those are the things that we need to start dealing with right now.
All right.
And form IBC.
Okay. Nudin, how do we, how does the state get to earn trust? Because I'd like to believe when they were actually being voted in and actually during the campaign, the reason as to why President William Ruto was voted into office is because Kenyans trusted him to some extent. Right now, he's finding it very hard to be able to communicate his messages to the people. He might have good intentions, quote unquote, but the message does not sit well with the people in most cases, and that's why maybe we are seeing what we're actually experiencing today. How does he get to earn back the trust that he seems to have lost?
First and foremost, the other week we were being taught a thing or two about patriotism through the lens of politicians. You know, for him to do this, or for him to change that perspective, then he has to be a patriot. And what is being a patriot? You do things that will benefit the country and its people, not that will benefit you or your cronies. You see, he finds himself in a hard place whenever he has to force things. That can never work. You can never force your people. You can never force people to something they don't want. You also have to listen to them. They claim that he's a listening president, but it takes man for him to listen. What type of listening is that? That is some toxic relationship. You know, it doesn't work that way. And first and foremost, for you to change how people view, what is, like he rightfully says, what is the priority right now for the people? Is it paying 500 million to Grammy Awards for a ceremonial event? Well, you have intern doctors who are not being paid with all the issues that we have in our country. Is that the priority? My question to him is, where did his manifesto go to? Where did it go to? Because there are new things coming up every single day. You ask yourself, is this the priority? They said Pesa Mfukoni. Where is that money in Mfukoni? They talk about how life was meant to be different. There are things you work on that would, it doesn't take rocket science. The things you work on that are immediate, that will make the lives of people better. And nobody is saying that he has a magic wand, he just whips it and everything turns. No, but you have to be genuine. All right? And you have to want to change the lives of the people. But if they see that every single day life is getting harder and nothing is changing and you can't listen to them, it reminds me of a song by a Tanzanian singer, which is very odd after the weekend, a Tanzanian singer called Nakaya. She has a song called Mr. Politician. She says, miaka ya hapo nyuma uliomba kura zangu, ahadi ulimimina, hivi leo sioni mabadiliko, hali imekuwa ngumu na wewe watajirika. What he says, choppers, vehicles, watches, belts, and Kenyans are languishing in abject poverty. Life is getting harder. People are losing jobs. Businesses are closing down. So you can't expect the people to believe in what you're saying. You have to work for them. They have to feel it. And you see, when something is working, you don't have to put a billboard or tell us from a podium. I'll feel the fact that, oh, but things are working. I can be able to have money in my pocket. My children can be able to go to school. I can be able to eat. I can get medical attention. I can start a business, it can flourish, I can get profit, I can employ people. But if that doesn't happen, even if you come and claim how inflation has reduced, and you see, the worst thing this government is one. They're so big on, we're the first to do this. Well, Tuambia Juzi, inflation has gone down since, it's been 17 years since it went down. They relaunch Citizen, they relaunch it, because it was there during Uhuru's time. They relaunch it, now they mark an anniversary. Some things that, they are pro, we are the first to do this, we're the first to do that. It doesn't work that way. If at all, whatever you're doing works, believe you me, the people will feel it. And if the people say that your policies are not making sense to them, then listen to them and change that. But if you don't, you will have a situation where you feel like you're being fought. Nobody is fighting you, because as you feel that you have certain interests that you want to achieve, the people also have interests that they want to achieve. They want food, they want good jobs, they want good health care, and they want the children to go to school at the end of the day.
All right. And you see, when you didn't mention that there's a song, I thought he was about to sing another popular song that we actually witness in the countries right now. I don't. But I want us to look at, there's a story done by David Kagina, Joan, about, Chief Justice Martha Koome. I'd like us to take a look at that as we continue this conversation. And as we look for that particular story, let me go through some of your feedback here. It says, Anything the government forces will be rejected with the same force. Tuwaone kwetu, tutawadunga hizo shindano, or wenyewe. Where's the nearest mental facility near the house on the hill? I think there's a patient there. That's a casual remark that doesn't befit the head of state. The president of late is on insult spree. Now, being stupid to protect my hard-earned resources is special wisdom and can't be apologetic at all. Okay, those are some of your feedback here as far as the rhetorics by the head of state is concerned. Now let's take a look at this particular story as we continue the conversation on the state of the nation. Now, Chief Justice Martha Koome says she will not resign. Now, the Chief Justice claims that the current onslaught against her and the arm of government she leads are not based on merit. The Judicial Service Commission backs her stance, stating that no evidence has been presented to warrant action, emphasizing that it cannot act on rumors or unverified claims. Let's take a look at this story.
Chief Justice Martha Koome has dismissed calls for her resignation, affirming her commitment to continue serving Kenyans in her capacity as the head of judiciary. Speaking during a judicial stakeholders forum on human rights, Koome reiterated her dedication to upholding the rule of law, ensuring justice for all, and strengthening Kenya's legal framework. This comes amid mounting public speculation and rumors about alleged misconduct in the judiciary.
But I know the intentions. It's a business model. I don't know to achieve what, maybe to scare me, to distract me, to defame me, and hold me out of office, but they can try something else.
The Judicial Service Commission has also weighed in on the matter, explaining that no evidence has been presented to warrant an investigation or action against those accused of being corrupt in the judiciary.
Social media may amplify grievances, but it's the act of filing complaints or petitions with the JSC that ensures that matters are addressed fairly, efficiently, and transparently.
Meanwhile, the Chief Registrar of the Judiciary, Freedom Okaya, has raised alarm over the rise in cases of gender-based violence across the country.
The Office of the Chief Registrar, as the custodian of the SGBV register, notes that statistics on the prevalence of gender-based violence paints a grim picture.
To address the surge in GBV cases, the Chief Justice revealed that judiciary had already launched 13 gender justice courts to deal with those found culpable of committing gender-related crimes.
The depth of this crisis merits that sexual and gender-based violence should be declared as a national disaster.
The Chief Registrar is now calling on the government to declare GBV a national disaster, necessitating urgent action beyond reliance on legal processes. Despite there being strong laws and policies guiding on the matter, implementation remains to be weak, explaining why justice remains to be elusive for family and victims. As to the question of whether this will be declared a national disaster, it's a wait and see. For K24 from Safari Park, I'm David Kagina.
All right, that story by David Kagina, of course, talks about CJ Martha Koome, who says she's being cyberbullied, but she maintains she won't resign from her position amid attacks that claims that the judiciary cedes to every command from President William Ruto. Let me start from there. As I wind up on this conversation this morning.
Let me say this. First of all, we should not be castigated, Nudin and I, for not being patriotic. We are very patriotic. Okay. In fact, the real reason why we woke up very early in the morning to come here is because we are patriots and we want to see this country work. Now, when you ask for this country to work, it cannot only be working in the executive. It has to work in the parliament and it has to work in the judiciary. The Gen Z movement put caution to the parliament. Okay. Whether they took that caution, I have no idea. The social media is busy putting caution to the president in terms of how exactly he's maneuvering everything at this particular moment. But so is the judiciary. Now, the judiciary, funnily enough, has been receiving and fielding attacks, not from just normal mwananchi. In fact, Kenyans don't even know the extent at which there is a problematic rot in the judiciary, except when lawyers of high stature take their time to actually point out there is massive corruption within the judiciary. Now, the moment such reports come in, it should not be taken in such a casual manner in which we had the statement from the Chief Justice today, making it personal. You know, when somebody says there is corruption in the judiciary, and then you decide that that statement of corruption in the judiciary is an attack on me as a person, you start personalizing things which are not meant to be personalized. This is an issue about the system, the entirety of the judiciary system. So if I was the Chief Justice, the moment that these reports keep coming, I would have taken the time to constantly keep feeding these particular judges who are at question to the DCI. Let them be spending as much time with the DCI as possible. We need to start instilling the fear of God in public officers, because where we are at in this republic is a place where it is completely rotten, where somebody can actually take a very useless decision that is affecting Kenyans and fear nobody and nothing, because the people who are meant to investigate, who are meant to be taking people to jail, are sleeping on their job. In the US, a judge, the moment a word is uttered on social media, the FBI will come crawling. Even the mention of so many things about whether he has taken money or not, it becomes a problem for him. He will step aside. He will wait for all those matters to be cleared. But in Kenya, somebody comes and alleges, and a senior state counsel for that matter comes and says there's a judge who's accepting bribes. And that judge, the next day, instead of going to report in Nairobi to the office of the Chief Justice to try and make clear what the issue is instead going to hear another matter where he can potentially or she can potentially receive an additional bribe. Okay. This is the problem we have in this country. We need to be very clear as a nation that it does not matter who you are, whether you are a judge, whether you are an MP, whether you are a CS or you are a PS or you are president or a deputy president. This country must be a country run on accountability. Okay. The moment your accountability or your integrity is doubted, the first thing you do is to step aside. All right. Second thing is to ensure that the DCI that we have in Kenya, that they do not become DCI by name alone. The DPP do not become by name alone. And we need an alternative process of selecting these people, because clearly this country has completely gone to the dogs, because the laws that we have on selecting the DPP, the DCI, and the head of NIS is completely flawed. We need a new process that will make sure that we have people of integrity, and now they're recruiting a new CEO for EACC. Yeah. Even that process needs to be scrutinized, because when we build a new republic, when we become a new nation, we need to actually make sure that the people who are charged with the responsibility of ensuring integrity and accountability, they become stronger, and they do not become people who come. You know, when a Chief Justice comes and says, we've just been receiving news on social media, so we cannot act on them. Yeah. That's very cavalier and careless, and we cannot allow that.
Nordin, you walk in the corridors of justice. Nordin, Ahmed Nasir say he's been called upon to cooperate, and I posted on his act that I will not cooperate. I will only cooperate if the investigations also touches on the 7 judges, or at least 4 of the Supreme Court, including CJ Koome. That is the only time I will share all my classified files on the juris pressa. Juris pressa.
You see, all 3 arms of government have issues. That's the truth of the matter. And if he says he has something on her and that he'll only cooperate when he's given room to table anything on her or any other judge, then give him the room. You see, at the end of the day, her statement reminded me of Kimunya. I'd rather die than resign.
That statement...
quite unfortunate that you see, most of the time when someone says that, oh, they go. It's and just check. And just check. So at the end of the day, it's quite unfortunate, because that is what people expect when they go there. They get justice, they get fairness, you know. So I really hope that we can be able to clean this country, because all 3 arms of government have issues.
You walk in the corridors of justice. Do we? Is it a compromise?
All I can say is that lisemwalo lipo na kama lipo likunjiani laja, and that's the truth of the matter. Because at the end of the day, there are issues, like I rightfully told you, all 3 arms of government, and those, depending on where you work, of course, you know how the shoe pinches. And I've heard there Isaac Ruto tell us, quote unquote, castigate social media again. You see, we're not your livestock, and we're not your choir. We wouldn't sing hosannas to you. People will tell you the truth of the matter. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, things are not working. There are issues in different places. And if people have concerns, let them raise them so that they can be able to be addressed. But sad reality is that whenever you raise a problem, you're seen as the problem. Okay. And most of the time, we don't want a problem. But when they want a problem, we say, no problem. All right. But in concluding, they touched on GBV. It is very unfortunate, the scenes we saw yesterday at the end of femicide demonstrations, where police officers decide to tear gas our mothers, our sisters, our wives and daughters. Why? And this is the same administration that gave out 100 million against femicide.
Yeah.
But now you haven't trained your police officers that you should protect these people. So if they handle those women yesterday like that, then how will that same woman come to you as a police officer when she has been assaulted? Okay, there's no confidence, you know. So at the end of the day, I believe that we still need reforms. As much as talk about the executive, judiciary and legislature, reforms in the National Police Service. It's no longer a force. The sad reality is that they think they are a force, protect the crown mentality, and the government of the day is so scared whenever they see the people congregating someone because they feel like they might be toppled. I don't know why. But that tells you that you are not working for your people. So that whenever people come together to discuss anything, you feel threatened.
All right.
Work for your people, then you won't have to follow women who are harmless like yesterday, to bungle them in lorries. LSK had to do a lot of work yesterday to tear gas them for simply saying, please do not kill us.
Okay.
How is saying don't kill us a crime? You get?
Right.
And this notion of they have to authorize me to picket my right. No, we just notify you so that you plan for my security, for your security. And security of those who are not picketing with us. And that is a crash course the police service needs. But at the end of the day, they still believe they are a force and they are protecting a crown that ended the moment we got to 1963.
From service to force back?
See, the problem is that we just changed the name, but we never changed their mentality. Because they still think that they're protecting a crown.
Okay, thank you so much. Of course, and we had asked your question, do you believe Kenya is headed in the right direction regarding democracy and governance? Of course, Peter Moniki says, very suspicious. Led by a liar, poor at communicating their unpopular policies, like now struggling to convince us to vaccinate livestock in the whole country. Why Kenya? Where else is it being done, or experiments are being done in Kenya? Government should concentrate on what matters to people now, their mandate, their immediate needs, then take time to educate us on any new policy issue till we understand and embrace it. That way we move together, but just thumping and calling people names tells a story that the direction's totally wrong. Trust deficit is evident in this government. Martin Eric says Kenya is headed to a wrong direction 100%. Okay, with a broad-based government, no more noise. We are done. Kenya is, Joseph says, Kenya is on wrong hands. Sincerely speaking, KK government has done nothing since 2022. Salat Dekane says majority cannot differentiate the right and the wrong direction. Right, of course, that's your feedback. Thank you so much for making time here and trusting us to bring you up to speed with what is making headlines across the country, and also have a conversation here about the state of the nation. And of course, my guest here, Stephen Mwekesi, thank you so much for making time this morning. We do this again, Sinda?
Very much so. Thank you.
Nudin Kagai, thank you so much for coming this particular morning. Of course, shukran san. All right, that's where we wrap it up here on New Dawn. Let's do this again when God says we do. Do have yourselves a lovely day.
Mr. DJ Lucky. When it comes to playing the best music videos, we've got you covered. K24 TV Mix Master. When it comes to a lineup of all the fresh DJs, we've got that too. Yeah! Check this out. Caribbean,